way to maximize the value of all resources is to share them with everyone, which is communism's essence. People are inherently selfish, so they reject communism intuitively, and they are most afraid of sharing when they have little material wealth. If a person is so poor that they only have a broken bicycle, then they will be unwilling to allow anyone else to ride it. This is human nature. However, when people not only have material wealth, but also power, status, and reputations, they always want to make themselves and their families live more luxuriously than those around them so that others will envy them. This satisfies their vanity, so they are reluctant to share anything with others. Since Marx founded his theory of communism, the communist movement has almost always been promoted violently and in ways which damage the interests of the property-owning class. The imperfection of Marx's communist theory and the blindness of the behavior of communist practitioners has led to the failure of the communist movement. As a result, when people hear about communism, they instinctively hate it and resist it, which is completely understandable. According to historical experience, I can understand why people demonize and resist communism. This should be a lesson learned, and it can even be said that they are doing right because the so-called communist movements throughout history have run completely counter to the real thing. True communism is gentle, soft, and civilized, not coercive, violent, or depriving others of their property. Who has suffered the most in human history? Of course, it has always been the toiling masses, that is, the common people. For thousands of years, their condition has basically not changed much, and they are still the bearers of most of the suffering. I grew up in Asia, spent more than 10 years in Africa, lived in North America for nearly 4 years, and I have also spent a few months with primitive tribes in Oceania. I felt and experienced deeply the pain and troubles of the commoners everywhere I went. In order to relieve the suffering and troubles of the toiling masses, I have immersed myself in the Bible, Buddhist scriptures, the Quran, the Tao Te Ching, and I have also concentrated on Western spiritual practices and Eastern Osho. I have always paid attention to the global climate and ecological changes, focusing on changes in global political ecology. What I want to tell mankind is that communism is the only bright way out for the common masses. So, what is communism? I have explained some of its theories, but no theories can reveal the essential characteristics of things, let alone analyze all the interpretations and extensions of them. It is only by creating real objects that people can observe intuitively and deeply that they will fully understand them. Therefore, Chanyuan Celestials and I created the purely communistic new oasis for life, formerly the second home. So if you want to know and understand what communism is, you can visit and experience the new oasis for life created by Life Chanyuan for yourselves. Many people equate communism with utopia, and there is nothing wrong with this understanding because utopia is the embryonic form of communism, but most of them throughout history have failed. In order to figure out the reasons for their failures, I have carefully analyzed some historical ones, especially the New Harmonious Village, founded by the utopian socialist practitioner, Owen in the United States. I wrote an article to analyze the reasons for its failure in which I opined that its core problem and the reason for its failure was that its utopian leaders did not have clear understandings and blueprints in their minds. They only relied on their passion and were crossing the river by feeling for the stones. So, when encountering the rush of wind, waves, and whirlpools, they could only drown in their rivers. In order to distinguish between the theories and practical activities of communism in history, I call the new oasis for life created by Life Chanyuan Xiefeng-style communism. This communism can resolve territorial disputes between countries and excessive consumption of natural resources, solve the corruption problem of government officials, avoid young Galen-style tragedies, reduce criminal activities by 3/4, enable people to live and work in peace, eliminate war, turmoil, refugees, and hunger, reduce suicide rates by more than half, and can give 98% of the people happy, joyful, free, and blessed lives. Who are these toiling masses? The term refers to those who have suffered their entire lives for food, clothing, housing, transportation, life, old age, sickness, and death. Those who have been struggling for a lifetime and are still struggling. Those who have suffered and have been bullied, troubled, and tortured all their lives. Those who have been looking forward to getting rich every year, while year after year still wearing torn clothes. Those who lack security but see no hope. And those who hate government officials. but on the surface have to show smiles on their faces and be deferential and sycophant to the officials. In short, everyone who wants to live a good life with their hands and diligence are the toiling masses. The cruel reality is that they are people who want to live better lives by hard work, yet their hands cannot rid themselves of troubles, pains, anxiety, sorrow, and even fear throughout their entire lives. This is what happened thousands of years ago. It is the same today, and it will remain this way for thousands of years to come unless we change our traditional production and life mode completely and enter the Xiefeng-style communist society. Otherwise, they will only dream eternally of having better lives. Moral education is always fragile and vulnerable. Christian moral education, Buddhist moral education, Islamic moral education, Confucian moral education, and the moral education of all kinds of sages have been easily destroyed by the face of reality. Look no further than today's China. All Communist Party officials have been raised on Mao Zedong's ideological and moral education, but in the face of money and interests, Mao's thoughts have been shelved. The level of corruption is staggering. Millions of yuan, even tens of millions are not enough. They embezzled hundreds of millions, billions, or even tens of billions. These servants of the people never cared about the lives of all the young Galens? Who cares about the lives of the toiling masses? Very few. Did decades of moral education work? Not at all. Let us look at the recent U.S. presidential election. Before the result of the election had even been settled, the mainstream media in the United States rushed to declare Joe Biden as the president, followed by the heads of Western democracies such as Britain, France, Germany, Israel, and other similar countries which sent congratulatory letters to Biden for his election victory. Even the president of Taiwan, Tsai Ing-wen, who is known as a Democrat, hurriedly sent congratulatory messages to Biden. No matter who is elected president, respecting the facts and listening to the voices and wishes of the people is the basis and bottom line of morality. The mainstream media's announcements and the congratulations of foreign before the facts had emerged and the votes had been counted violates the basic bottom line of morality and does not conform to legal procedures. What should be emphasized here is that most people in Western society have been educated in Christian morality, but where is the morality of the mainstream media? Where is the morality of those national leaders? Democratic countries are like this, but moral education in non-democratic countries is not even worth considering. The facts tell us that moral education is not enough to allow the toiling masses to live and work in peace and contentment because all spiritual chicken soup is an anesthetic. The current rampant Buddhist preaching is even more of an anesthetic, and the preaching to return to traditional Chinese culture is tantamount to advocating for men to wear braids and long mandarin jackets and women to bind their feet. That mysterious and spooky preaching is a portion of poison. Those who care about the welfare of the toiling masses should seek and establish programs which fundamentally guarantee happy lives for them. It might be very good to say that we should put power in the cage of the system, such that government officials dare not, cannot, and would not have access to corrupt practices, but unfortunately, it is the system itself that is the best soil for officials to grow corrupt, so the system will be unable to restrain and stop it because it is its own hotbed of corruption. I ask, can this system shut down power? Can it shield officials from corruption? Of course not. There have been many changes of dynasties throughout Chinese history, but what were the results? The herbal soups changed, but the medicines did not. Individuals changed, but the system did not. The obvious result is that the toiling masses are still the toiling masses, and their toiling nature and destiny have been fundamentally unchanged. If you do not change the traditional production and life mode, then it is of no use to change the ones in charge. It is useless even if you adopt a separation of powers, such as in the United States if the president is Old Wang. The judiciary is run by his brother-in-law, the legislative power is under the control of his third aunt, and the media are controlled by his best friends. Toiling masses, use your heads. Would you have free and happy lives? Xiefeng-style communism is the only way to happiness for the toiling masses. The new oasis for life production and life mode, created by Life Genuine, is a paradise for everyone. Many poor people among the working people have fluky minds, and they always think that they can squeeze into the upper class and live the life of the best as they sharpen their heads. Yes, they have that chance. There have always been 1 or 2 people out of 10,000 who have achieved this wish, but the probability of success is much too low. and it is a path that very few common workers will ever take. There are also some commoners who think that since they have million yuan houses and cars worth several 100,000 yuan, that they no longer belong to that low level. In fact, they are self-anesthetized and daydreaming. If they cannot maintain control for 3 days, then their car is just a pile of scrap iron. If they do not have food for 3 days, their million yuan house is just a coat. If there is a major illness or disaster, their property and vehicles will not save them. There are even some poor toiling masses who think that since they have become civil servants with iron rice bowls, secure jobs, they feel that their futures are secure, but in fact that is just a temporary comfort for themselves, and when they get old, they will learn the feelings of life. The sour, sweet, bitter, hot, and salty taste of life. In fact, Xiefeng-style communism is not only the road to happiness for the toiling masses, but also for capitalists and government officials, and the road for the cultivators to become celestials and Buddhas. The reason for this cannot be fully explained in a single article. If you have any doubts, please ask those who have lived and experienced Xiefeng-style communism. They can answer you. Remember this. Communism is the only way to happiness for the toiling masses and the only way out for mankind. 分享一点非常重要的做人常识. Sharing of some very important common sense of life. Xiefeng. Translated by Qinyu and edited by Kair. October 19th, 2020. If your life is stable but stressed, see if you lack common sense in these areas. If the greatest creator came to you but you failed to recognize him, then your life will reincarnate again and again. If gods, Buddhas, and celestials have come to see you but you have been unaware, then you have not yet awakened, and you can only keep on sleeping. If noble people occasionally appear in your life but you do not acknowledge them, then it will be difficult for your life to have a turning point and change, and your hardships are inevitable. Among the 3 factors that change one's destiny, personality is a very important one. This person may be a god, Buddha, celestial, or noble on the path of your life, and as long as you know any of them, your destiny will develop and change for the better. But I found that no one knows the greatest creator, and when gods, Buddhas, and celestials come around, people do not know them either. When noble people come near, few will pay attention to them. Therefore, most people are just living beings, rather than otherworldly saints. Some people can change the trajectories and destinies of their lives, but it is unfortunate if they keep missing their chances. 5 major turning points impacted my life. 4 were from noble people, and 1 was related to the greatest creator. Had I not recognized the greatest creator, this tour guide that you know would not have been born, and were it not for the 4 noble people's guidance and help, I would be an old farmer in my hometown today. Where are the noble people, the gods, Buddhas, and celestials, and where is the greatest creator? They are all in your life and at your side. Why can you not see them, and why are you not aware of their existences? This has something to do with your consciousness and soul, as well as your understanding and realm. From your consciousness point of view, you cannot tell the priority of your life or reverse it, and from your spiritual point of view, your heart is too selfish and your mind is dim and closed. If your understanding is poor, then the sound of water running down mountains is noise, and if your realm is not high, and you cannot see beyond material content. For example, if I am the noble one in your life, then have I ever appeared before you? And if I have, then did you pay attention to me? If you did not, then you will not get anything from me, let alone change the trajectory and destiny of your life. How can it be considered that you have paid attention to me? When I speak, you must first listen carefully and then express your gratitude to me. When I come to you, you must stop what you are doing, mute your mobile phone, isolate yourself from the outside world, and communicate with me seriously and intently. When I post articles in WeChat, circles of friends, you should offer likes and show that you have me in your heart. When I show you the way, you must have no doubts, but rather start then and there. Such can be considered your having paid attention. So what kind of words and deeds are considered as your not having paid attention? When I talk to you, do you steer clear of my crucial points, not focus on the subjects of our conversations, and stray to topics that have nothing to do with my subjects? Do you talk too much and listen too little? When I came to you, or when you came to me, were you too busy looking at your phone and chatting with someone else to communicate seriously with me? When I posted an article, did you never offer a like, and therefore prove that I am not important to your consciousness? Were you so busy expressing yourself that you never reacted to my point of view? And so on? What I am saying is that there must be someone whose cognition is higher than yours in any group. Just as in a banquet, there must be a guest of honor. Therefore, after entering any group, the first thing that you must do is to find a person whose cognitive ability is higher than yours. As long as they are there, then you should talk less and listen more to them. In this way, you will benefit. Since they might be a celestial, Buddha, or the noble person in your life, they might well change your miserable destiny. There are mountains beyond mountains, skies above skies, people beyond people, and great masters beyond masters. Do not express yourself too much. When confronted by people with higher cognitive abilities, always listen, do not argue or express yourself, because the more you do, the worse you will be, because within the scope of his or her cognition, those actions can only show your limitations. When you become complacent, they will have already abandoned you. In this way, you will have missed the gods, Buddhas, celestials, and noble people, and missed your opportunity to change your destiny. When one thinks that they are completely right, then there is no room or opportunity for them to sublimate anymore. Their sublimation will be over, and the gods, Buddha, celestials, and noble people will avoid them. All those who insist that they are right will distance themselves from gods, Buddhas, celestials, and noble ones, and auspicious lights will no longer shine on them, because they will have already set their shape, and what they now are will definitely remain the same in the future. People have many opportunities to change their destinies throughout their lives, but most are not blessed to seize them. Gods, Buddhas, celestials, and nobles will appear once or many times in each person's life, but whether you can get to know, meet, and accept them depends on your own thoughts, words, and deeds. Of course, the core factor is your consciousness, state of mind, realm, and understanding. Remember, when you feel that you are right, are obsessed with it, and are arrogant about it, then you are finished. 信念和希望的神奇力量. The magical power of faith and hope. Xiefeng, March 21st, 2021. On September 9, 2019, the World Health Organization reported that, on average, 800,000 people commit suicide globally every year. According to statistical analysis, the number of suicide attempts is 20 times that of completed suicides. Suicide is a result of losing faith and hope. Hope. The impact of suicide and suicide attempts on people is estimated at 4 individuals affected per person, resulting in 64 million people worldwide experiencing extreme suffering annually. If we add the suffering caused by diseases, conflicts, poverty, wars, and disasters, it's safe to say that, not exaggerating, 2 to 3 billion people live in pain every year. We cannot turn a blind eye to this. We must liberate people from suffering. The way to liberation is through faith and hope, because faith and hope have a miraculous power. In a major earthquake in Los Angeles, 14 children were rescued 36 hours after the quake. The core factor behind their rescue was the faith and hope of one child and his father. The father once told his son, "No matter what happens, I will be with you." The son's faith and hope were, "My father will come to save me." This belief and hope infected the other 13 children, helping them survive the dangerous period of fear and despair, and ultimately being rescued. On August 5, 2010, a collapse occurred at the San Jose copper mine in northern Chile. 33 miners were trapped 700 meters underground, and those above ground didn't know if they were alive or dead. The 33 miners managed to take refuge in a shelter, but their situation was dire. The shelter held only enough food for 2 to 3 days. Yet they persisted for a full 17 days. They survived by consuming just 2 spoonfuls of canned fish per day per person. How did they manage to survive until they were finally rescued on the 69th day? The answer is faith and hope. In times of despair, as long as one holds onto faith and hope, there is a chance to transform danger into safety. In today's era, one of the best examples of maintaining faith and hope is the Chanyuan Celestials of Life Changyuan. A group of ordinary people, more than 100 in number, began living together in a communist model since 2009. Over the past 11 years, they have faced repeated hardships. They built 3 idyllic paradises in Yunnan province. Due to the government's lack of understanding, they were driven out of their homes, and their more than 20 million yuan in property went to waste. They then built a home in Nanjing, only to be evicted again by the government. Meanwhile, they created 3 homes in Xinjiang, only to be driven out again. Returning to Yunnan, they built 3 more homes, only to face hardship once more and be forced out. The group exhausted its funds, feeling that there was no place for them in the world. However, they overcame these difficulties and persisted until today. Several more homes have been rebuilt, especially the 2 homes in Thailand received support from local temple abbots. The home building in Canada was delayed due to the pandemic but remains standing. Despite being in dire straits, we did not lose hope. We did not stop moving forward because our faith remained unshaken and our hope never turned into despair. We firmly believe that the greatest creator will not abandon us. We believe in the justice of the Tao. We believe that the government's lack of understanding is only temporary, and we believe that, as long as there are no unlawful or unruly acts, the government will one day understand and allow us to live according to the communist model. Additionally, our profound understanding of countless secrets of the universe, time, space, and life has filled us with immense hope and confidence in the future. Without the support of faith and hope, Life Genuine would have long vanished. From the practical experience of Life Genuine New Oasis for Life, we have gained a profound understanding. As long as all of humanity embarks on the way of the greatest creator, the path of Life Genuine, and enter into the Xiefeng style, communist form production in life, the 800,000 people won't commit suicide every year, and the suffering of hundreds of millions of people will not only be alleviated, but may even disappear entirely. The entire human race should embrace one faith. Life Genuine can save humanity and rescue people from the sea of suffering. The entire human race should hold on to one hope. As long as Life Genuine exists, the beautiful life that humanity dreams of will undoubtedly come. The efficiency, depth, and breadth of life. Xiefeng, July 16, 2020. Translated by Qinyu and edited by Peter. Most people should be geniuses in a certain field, but most people are mediocre and find their goals to be unachievable throughout their lives. The reason is that they are forced by life and cannot engage in the work they like, and their entire lives are consumed in their trivial daily affairs. We analyzed housewives statistically. Few housewives have achieved success in their careers because they are submerged in daily trivial housework. We asked an elderly woman, "What have you done in your life?" She could hardly list any examples that she can be proud of. In fact, she has a lot of work to do every day: cooking, washing, taking children out, purchasing, cleaning, and visiting relatives and friends. Countless daily tasks almost dragged her down, and in the end, she found that she had accomplished nothing in her life. Of course, I do not advocate that all people become the best, glorify and illuminate their ancestors, and be successful, much less advocate that all people be extraordinary and live their whole life gloriously. I just want people to live a life that is a little more comfortable, cool, relaxed, and free. Then, how to achieve this wish? Do only one thing in your life. This is a truth that I have recently realized. In the past 10 years or so, I have spent my life being a guide for Life Genuine and have not done anything else. Thus, I have finished writing articles comprised of millions of words and created more than a dozen picturesque human homes based on the new life model. But in the last 2 or 3 months, I have done so many tasks which are too miscellaneous that I have hardly anything to show for it. Every day, I get up at 5 o'clock, browse the internet for half an hour, and quickly wash and prepare breakfast for the guests. Even if there are only 2 guests, it takes me at least 2.5 hours from preparation to completion. During these 2.5 hours, I must do at least 20 things or more. After the guests have left, I clean up the room. From cleaning the toilet and bathroom sink, wiping tables and chairs, changing the sheets, pillowcases, and 3 sets of large, medium, and small towels, until cleaning the carpet, there are more than 10 things to do. In addition, it takes an average of more than 2 hours a day to clean up the yard. It is not easy to mow the lawn of 10 acres of land neatly and beautifully. I also need to answer the phone at any time to answer questions from the guests, and to take garbage to the dump more than 10 kilometers away from time to time, to go to over 30 kilometers away to make purchases, to keep the restaurant clean and tidy at all times, to keep records of the income and expenditures at any time for the preparation of the quarterly accounting and tax payment, to pay the fees every month, internet fees, TV fees, mobile phone number fees, medical care insurance premiums, gas bills, electricity bills, etc. In addition to these daily tasks, I must deal with unexpected occurrences anytime and anywhere. I am thinking that if I spend my whole life like this, even if I am a genius in a certain field, my talent will be buried in endless tedious affairs. Doing a lot of various kinds of work can broaden the breadth of life, but you will never reach the depth, height of life, and there will be no efficiency. Always doing one thing will be the most efficient. The more complicated and varied the things you do, the lower the efficiency. Last year, I planned that any way possible, this year I will go away once, at least to visit Prince George City, which is more than 300 kilometers away. As a result of my daily tasks, I haven't been able to achieve this goal till now. I am tightly bound to the same place and cannot leave for a while. A donkey has a blindfold over its eyes to let it grind grain. It goes around and around the millstone and will go around in circles in the same place for a lifetime. In fact, most people live in the same way as donkeys do. The donkey has to revolve around the millstone. Whether the donkey pulls the grindstone, makes the circle or not, it is not up to it. What about people? Compelled by environment and the pressures of life, people have to repeat the same work every day. All this is involuntarily, and they have no choice. Who can say that I do what I like the most every day? To make life a little more comfortable, chic, relaxed, and free, we must only do one thing in our lives so that we can reach the depth of life. A drilling rig can only drill tens of meters at a time if it infrequently changes the drilling location. To drill to 1,000 meters or 10,000 meters, you must drill in the same hole. Only by concentrating on one goal can it be thus. Rubbing ropes against wooden boards will cut into them, and dripping water onto stones will wear them down. If we work 8 hours a day to make $100, can we make $100 in just 2 hours? I think it is possible. The way to do this is to do only one thing. The more complicated the things we do, the less money we can make. Only by doing one thing can we be relaxed and comfortable. In this way, can we have a good mood and free time to dabble in a broader field in order to expand the breadth of life. The problem is, who can do only one thing in a lifetime? If we still pursue the efficiency, depth, and breadth of life in accordance with the traditional production and life mode, for most people, it is just a beautiful and unrealistic fantasy. There is only one way to reach the goals. That is to live in the life mode of New Oasis for Life created by Life Genuine. That is the best place to realize your ideal of life. 自由之路, The Road to Freedom. Xiefeng, November 10th, 2022. Translated by Chinyu and edited by Peter. The highest realm pursued by human beings is to obtain physical and mental freedom. Not being physically and mentally free is like being in prison. Why do people want to make more money? Its core purpose is to gain greater freedom. Why do people have to study hard? Its ultimate purpose is to gain more physical and mental freedom. Everyone who has worked hard all his life is fighting for his own physical and mental freedom. The question is, have they achieved physical and mental freedom throughout their life? None. Can you go where you want to, associate with the opposite sex when you want to, say whatever you want to? Who has achieved it? No one. The presidents cannot, billionaires cannot, experts, scholars, and professors, followers of any religion, none of them can, not to mention the general public. What is the problem? Why has not a single person achieved physical and mental freedom in their entire life for thousands of years? There are 8 factors that prevent people from obtaining physical and mental freedom, namely, country, money, marriage, family, kinship, government, debt, and ego. As long as there are countries in this world, no one can be free. As long as there is money in this world, no one can be free. As long as you enter marriage, the special relationship between both sexes, don't expect to be free again. As long as you revolve around family, the most basic production relationship in society, you will never expect to be free for the rest of your life. As long as you have parents, children, siblings, and other relationships, you will not have freedom of mind and body. As long as there is a government that controls you at all times, no one can be free. As long as you owe debts of gratitude and financial debts, don't even think about gaining physical and mental freedom. As long as you are stubborn and always think you are right, you will not achieve freedom. Isn't this making people feel hopeless, desperate, and miserable? Think about it this way: no matter how hard we try, no one can reach the highest realm of physical and mental freedom. Why do the vast majority of people go to some kind of religious belief? When people cannot get physical and mental freedom in reality, they can only seek spiritual comfort in religion to anesthetize their fragile and sad nerves, and to live a miserable and helpless life in hope. In terms of conventional thinking, there is no possibility that the country, money, marriage, family, kinship, government, debt, and ego will disappear from the world. No one in their right mind can accept the disappearance of these 8 factors, even emotionally. However, it is precisely because people are too rational and pay too much attention to affections that no one has achieved true physical and mental freedom for tens of thousands of years. People cannot imagine how they would live if these 8 factors disappeared. For example, if there is no country, who will protect my safety? What's the point of having a life without parents and children? Who will be responsible for the normal operation of society without the government? Without money, what can I use to exchange for the goods I need with others? And so on. It's hard to imagine how human society would operate and develop in an orderly manner without these 8 factors, and 10,000 what to dose will come to mind. Nothing is ever impossible which not yet been realized or transformed by thinking. On my way to make people completely gain physical and mental freedom, I entered 20 worlds in the realm of time and space that are superimposed, intersected, have clear boundaries that are interconnected, and found that there are no factors such as country, money, marriage, family, and kinship in the 1,000-year world, which is the closest to human life. But the people who live there have a beautiful life with complete freedom of body and mind. I wondered if I could copy the life mode of the 1,000-year world to the human world. So I created a brand new production and life mode which is completely different from the traditional life mode. I call it the second home. This second home life mode has been going on for 13 years since April 2009, and 95% of those who have lived this way have been happy with this way of life. It turns out that, even if factors such as country, marriage, and family disappear, human beings can live a lifetime in the highest realm of life with freedom of body and mind. Can the partial success prove that the second home model works in the world? In theory, it totally works. In practice, it needs to be confirmed experimentally. I have lived in Asia for decades, Africa for more than 10 years, America for more than 5 years, and a few months with the indigenous tribes of Australia. In the recent 5 years, I have been in close contact with more than 2,000 people from Europe and have had superficial exchanges with most of them. I have also had deep contacts and exchanges with the Kanahana family in Japan. I have visited 2 communities in Canada as well and have conducted in-depth exchanges with them. My feeling is that the new life of human beings, the second home mode, works all over the world. What I am convinced of is that if human beings are not eliminated by nature, the future production and life mode of human beings will be the second home model. This is the only way for everyone to obtain physical and mental freedom. The conclusion is that the new mode of life for mankind, the second home, is the road to freedom. 我想与你聊聊天. I want to have a chat with you. Xiefeng, June 3, 2017. Translated by Qinyu and edited by Peter. Knowing and understanding ourselves is one of the guarantees for a happy life. If we do not know ourselves or understand ourselves, we will inevitably have a series of troubles and pains in our lives. And we will attribute these troubles and pains to the outside world and others, instead of ourselves. A king or a beggar, who is freer and happier? The answer is, whoever knows and understands himself is happier. When a person vents grievances, it is from a lack of knowledge and understanding of himself. When a person blames others, it is from a lack of knowledge and understanding of himself. When a person feels his talents are unrecognized, it is from a lack of knowledge and understanding of himself. The world is still the same. The world is faultless. All faults lie within ourselves. If a person is revered and respected by others, that's because he is valuable to people. When he loses his value, no one will revere and respect him. This is not only a cruel reality, but also the law of justice in the world. Therefore, if we want to always get people's reverence and respect, we must maintain our own value. When we have no value to people, we must be ready to bear the indifference and cruelty of the world to us and bear the boundless isolation and loneliness in our hearts. People all live in circles. Some circles are small, and some are large. This is like a WeChat group. A dozen or hundreds of thousands of people is a circle, and two people is also a circle. If you want to be respected in a circle, you must have equivalent value to the circle. Otherwise, either you will abandon this circle or you will be abandoned by this circle. For example, there are three people in a circle. Zhang San has a carrot, Li Si has a banana, and Wang Wu has a cucumber. Then, the people in this circle are basically equal. This circle is relatively harmonious and warm, and their friendship will also be lasting. If Zhang San has carrots, Li Si has bananas, and Wang Wu has nothing, then Zhang San and Li Si will not respect Wang Wu and will abandon Wang Wu. Even circles of the same nature, such as business circles, have obvious levels. Millionaires are in the million-dollar circle. You cannot enter the multimillionaire circle. Multimillionaires are all in the multimillionaire circle. You cannot get into the circle of billionaires. This is called birds of a feather flock together. To people, living is a cruel battle. No one lives easily. Whoever wants to achieve a happy and ideal life without a cruel struggle must be dreaming. If you have never worked hard but lived well, it proves that someone is supporting you. Once you lose the person supporting you, you will enter a state of misery. In order to avoid entering a state of misery, you must always struggle. Never be careless and live in a muddle-headed way. Do not think about enjoyment, but about giving and dedication. Only in this way can you hope to get the happy life you yearn for. Do what you can do. Do not expect to do what you cannot do. If you cannot do well at what you can do, there is no doubt that you won't do well at the things you expect to do. Ask yourself often, what have I done well? What have I done that I can be proud of? Do not dislike the trivial and simple things. A person's talents and great qualities are reflected in the simplest and smallest things. If you do small things well, you can do medium things. If you do medium things well, you can do big things. And if you do not even do small things well, can you do medium and big things? Even ghosts won't believe this. Be proactive, not passive. As a child, do not always hope that your parents will arrange everything for you. As a student, do not always hope that the teacher will arrange everything for you. As a disciple, do not always hope that your master will arrange everything for you. As a subordinate, do not always hope that your superiors will arrange everything for you. As a citizen, do not always hope that the president and the central government will arrange everything for you. If we do not give full play of our intelligence and wisdom now, we will never receive support and promotion from nobles. We will lose the steps to promotion forever, and we will never release our inner energy to liberate ourselves or change our bad fate. 超越时空活在未来 Transcending time and space by living in the future. Xiefeng, June 16, 2018. Translated by Qinyu and edited by Peter. Man is life. Life is a non-material structure with spirituality. The core component of life is consciousness. For consciousness, there is no question of reality and illusion, no question of time and space, and no question of past and future. Reality and illusion, time and space, are a problem that stubbornly exist in human perception. For life itself, these problems do not exist. The essence of life is perception and experience. Without perception and experience, there is no life. In other words, life without perception and experience does not exist. As far as perception and experience are concerned, there is no difference between dreams and reality. There is no difference between playing games online and directly participating in games. There is no difference between virtual and real situations. There is no difference between a face-to-face chat and a dream chat. There is no difference between recalling the past and looking forward to the future. And there is no difference between concrete practice and imaginative practice. For example, in the illusory scene of dreams, what we perceive and experience in dreams is the same as what we perceive and experience in reality. So long as it is perception and experience, for life itself, there is no problem with the illusion of reality, no problem of past, present, and future. Human cognition can never go beyond reality, time, and space. This is the limitation of human cognition. This limitation restricts our thinking to four-dimensional time and space, so that we cannot break through the shackles of reality, time, and space. The sayings and viewpoints of living in the present are the most typical examples of cognition and thinking fettered by reality, time, and space. In other words, the cognition and understanding of living in the present is purely human thinking. It is not the cognition and thinking of lives higher than human beings. Now, let's discuss the feasibility of transcending time and space from human cognition. What has happened is called the past or history. What is happening is called the present or now. What is going to happen is called the future or the time to come. Now let's make a choice. Would you like to live in the past, in the present, or in the future? For those who have had a good past, they want to live in the past, but also look forward to the future. For people who have had a painful past, they do not want to live in the past. So, how many people are willing to live in the present? Except for those who are enjoying life at this moment, most people are willing to live in the future because the future has not yet happened, and they can look forward to a happy situation. The main point of this article is that now is the most difficult time for life. Food, clothing, shelter, transportation, birth, aging, sickness, and death have brought enough worry to people. Electricity bills, water fees, internet fees, gas fees, fuel fees, transportation fees, vehicle, house etc. repair costs, house rent, and land tax have given people enough to be anxious about. The giving of presents between people is annoying enough. Personal safety is also worrisome, and the natural disasters and causal disasters that occur anytime and anywhere are heartrending. Therefore, living in this moment is the most troublesome and painful experience. Since life lies in perception and experience, it is wise to consciously avoid and escape the current situation of confusion and sorrow. There is a sad reality that we have to face. Nearly 1 million people commit suicide every year around the world. Millions of people attempt suicide. Hundreds of millions of people have thought of suicide. Why do they commit suicide? Because the present is too bitter, there is no hope, no turning point, no bright future, so they just choose to commit suicide. This is the life tragedy of those who live in the moment. Now let's envision that if a person in such current distress knows that he will receive 1 million yuan tomorrow, or will encounter a noble person who will bring himself out of a real tragic situation, or the world will be reversed and his sorrow will end soon, or he gets to know in a few years that he will turn the situation around and become successful, or knows that he will enjoy a wonderful life in the endless heaven in the future, then, will he commit suicide? Of course not. Not only will he not commit suicide, but he will live happily every day. This means that letting the consciousness live in the future makes life better than living in the present. Therefore, allow yourself to live in the future and imagine that in the future you can live in the new oasis for life created by Life Genuine. Imagine that you are living in the 1,000-year world, the 10,000-year world, the celestial islands continent. In this way, your current misery will be alleviated. No matter how hard or difficult it is, you will survive it. Your current troubles and pains will disappear into smoke and clouds, and all worries and fears will be just illusions in front of you. Hence, you will feel that every day is interesting to live, just like playing games, and even if death comes, you will be fearless and even accept it with joy. This is the way to transcend time and space. We must know that the future is created by visualized thinking. The essence of life is perception and experience. In this case, living in a beautiful future is more meaningful and valuable than living in the present. One of the mysteries of life is that perception and experience determine the taste and state of life. That being the case, why bother letting the consciousness experience a miserable moment? Why not let the consciousness experience a bright future? Anyway, consciousness does not distinguish between reality and illusion. Everything we experience is the essential attribute of life. 絮道人生, a ramble about life. 写评, May 23, 2018. Translated by Chinyu and edited by Peter. Rambling is chatting. Chatting can be endless, free from rules and regulations, letting one's thoughts float in the wind, aimlessly like mature dandelion seeds. Everyone encounters two doors every day. One door leads to heaven, and the other leads to hell. Whether you go to heaven or to hell depends entirely on how you treat people and things. If you treat them right, your path ahead will be bright and full of flowers. And if you treat them wrong, your path ahead will be full of mud, and you can only trudge along. Every day in life, we are taking exams. What we should do and how to do it is the exam. The examiner is the greatest creator. Our ultimate destination is decided by the accumulated daily exam results. With excellent results, there is no doubt we will go to heaven. With poor results, there is no doubt we will go to hell. Every day in life, we can have the good fortune of meeting angels. In everyday life, we always deal with people. Even the person we meet in the WeChat group might be an angel. If we treat angels kindly and sincerely, our lives might turn around and we may get to know the secrets of life. If we treat angels badly, we may miss a good connection and a good future. Everyone's outcome is an accumulation of his lifetime's thoughts and behavior. Do not take the chance and think that if you hurt a person or life you will not be punished. It is impossible. Punishment is bound to come. Even if we once ridiculed someone, even if we once gave someone a contemptuous look, even if we once humiliated someone with vulgar language, punishment would inevitably come. Some punishments are obvious, but most of the punishments are without a trace. It just happens without our noticing of it. For example, we should have eaten ginseng fruit, but in fact we got sour plums. We should have done something smoothly, but in fact we encountered obstacles and resistance. To analyze and judge a phenomenon, three basic factors need to be considered. One is affection, one is reason, and one is nature. Some phenomena conform to affection but not reason in nature. Some phenomena conform to reason but not affection in nature. And some phenomena conform to nature but not affection and reason. Some unreasonable phenomena are in line with affection and nature. Some ruthless phenomena are in line with reason and nature. And some phenomena that are neither in line with reason nor affection but are in line with nature. Therefore, it is best not to judge any phenomenon in life. It is easy to misjudge and cause harm, unless we take everything into consideration that are the three factors: affection, reason, and nature. Last year, I went to Vanuatu, the Pacific Island country, and chatted with Mr. Steven, the person in charge of Eden of the East. He said that people should be vegetarian instead of meat eaters. I asked, "Can't we eat pork?" He said we shouldn't. I said that everything has its value of existence. So what is the value of existence of pigs? He told me a lot and it made sense, but I explained my understanding to him. I said that balance is a law of the universe. This law conforms to the law that the sum of positive and negative energies is zero. Its basic principle is that it rises here but falls there. It increases here but decreases there. It gains here but loses there. And it strengthens here but weakens there. For example, if a person's words hurt many people, the balance of it will be that he can no longer talk. If a person takes advantage of the world, he will definitely be balanced by paying the price for this. If a person owes someone a debt, it will be balanced by his repaying the debt. If a person cruelly killed another life, it will definitely be balanced by the giving of his own life. In this sense, a pig must be the reincarnation of a certain person as a result of his words bringing too much hurt to others. He took too much advantage of others, he owed too much debt, and cruelly killed a certain life. Only by reincarnating as a pig and paying with his own hair, bones, blood, flesh, and life can he balance the debts he owed in his previous life. In this sense, eating meat is a kind of benevolence, and not eating meat is cruel. Why do I say so? When a person owes a debt, he will be reincarnated as a pig to repay. If you do not eat his meat, that means that he is not allowed to repay his debts, and he has to continue to carry his debts and reincarnate again and again in the livestock world. This is a bit cruel. But if you eat his meat, it lets him repay his debts and leave behind his reincarnation in the pig world and return to the human world as a human being. Isn't it a good deed? There are endless truths that people need to learn and understand in their lives. There is a deep understanding that I want to share with everyone. This is to never hurt anyone in your life. Do not hurt with words, nor with deeds, eyes, mouth, hands, feet, or thoughts. Even if others hurt you, you must never deal with a man as he deals with you. Just say good words, as many as you like, and never say anything bad. Once you do, it will become sin, and it will be too late to remedy. Fish are in the water, people are in the towel, and the operation and changes of all phenomena and things in the world are in the Tao, and there are no people or things that should be wronged. Feeling being wronged is because of your not understanding cause and effect. If you understand the law of cause and effect, you will know that everything is appropriate. It is really divine punishments, though slow, are always sure, with big meshes yet letting nothing slip through. Therefore, if others hurt you, they will be handed over to the Tao's handling and arrangement. We ourselves will never hurt people, will never hurt anyone. 人类最佳出路，改变传统的生产和生活模式. The best way forward for mankind, changing the traditional production and life mode. Xiefeng. February 1st, 2023. Translated by Qinyu and edited by Peter. With the development of human beings today, there are many chronic diseases that cannot be cured by the traditional production and life mode. More than 7 billion people are living on the earth and consume a large amount of resources every day, and consumption has exceeded the regeneration capacity of the earth. Rapid advances in science and technology can develop new types of energy and save resources, but ultimately, it is a drop in the bucket and cannot solve the crisis that we are facing. The chronic diseases of the entire human society are as follows. Resource consumption exceeds regeneration capacity. Everyone is a consumer of resources, not a creator of resources. In the long run, the depletion of resources is an inevitable reality, and this problem cannot be solved by relying on the traditional production and life mode. The waste of resources. A large part of what people use in food, clothing, housing, transportation, birth, old age, sickness, and death today is extravagant and unnecessary. This problem cannot be solved by legal and moral teachings. It can only be solved by changing the traditional production and life mode. Official corruption and a slothful government. There are always contradictions between officials and the people. This problem has not been resolved for thousands of years. The problem is that the traditional production and life mode are fertile soil for corruption. If the traditional production and life mode do not change, the corruption of officials and government sloth cannot be eliminated. Conflicts between ethnic groups and between countries. The competition and conflicts between different ethnic groups and nations which are caused by resource competition and ideological differences have never been resolved in history. If these conflicts cannot be resolved, huge military expenditures will not be reduced, and wars will be inevitable. The huge damage that this causes to society cannot be avoided. The only measure to solve this chronic disease lies in changing the traditional production and life mode of human beings. The gap between the rich and the poor. Due to everyone's different talents and the efforts that different people make, it is natural and normal for people to have a wealth gap between them. However, if the gap between rich and poor becomes too large, conflicts will form. The most effective way to alleviate this conflict is not legal and moral teaching, not to mention administrative orders and taxation, but to change the traditional mode of production and life. The magic of money. With money as a medium of exchange, its value and function cannot be questioned and underestimated. However, when people regard the pursuit of money as the primary motivation and purpose of survival and life, social turmoil and personal troubles and pains will be the result. How can the magic of money be eliminated? Only by changing the traditional mode of production and life. The loss of integrity. The more there are people, the fewer the resources, the more intense the competition will be, and the lower the integrity of people will be. With the loss of integrity, the cost of communication between people, countries, and special interest groups will increase infinitely. This is not only detrimental to the welfare of all the people, but also detrimental to resource conservation and social stability. How can this problem be solved? Legal and moral constraints cannot play a major role, so it can only be solved by changing the traditional mode of production and life. The disadvantages of government planning and a market economy. Facts have proved that the government's plan will take care of one thing and overlook another will lead to the impoverishment of the people. The market economy is like the law of the jungle, which will lead to the weak becoming the prey to the strong, which is not the ideal state of human life. I have thought about many options of how to make the world favorable and harmonious, and for the people to live and work in peace and contentment. Finally, it has been found that the best plan is to replace the traditional way of production and life with the new way of production and life. So, What kind of mode is the new human production and life mode? In a word, it is a full replication and copy of the production and life mode of the thousand-year world of the kingdom of heaven. The model of this new mode of production and life on earth is the production and life mode of the second home created by Life Genuine. A brief summary of this new mode is: human beings will no longer enter the institution of marriage and family, but enter the program of the second home. Countries will disintegrate. There will be global cooperation and resource sharing. The scale of population growth will become lower than the regeneration capacity of the Earth's resources, and people will flow around the world designedly, allowing everyone to reach the state of life in the kingdom of heaven, where everyone owns nothing yet owns everything. This is not a dream, but a summary of the successful experience that has been practiced on the Earth for 15 years. May every citizen of the Earth get to know, think, and practice it. 人类最高级文明内涵 The connotation of the highest level of human civilization. Dayform Buddha. May 2, 2023. Edited by Peter. When human civilization enters the most advanced stage, there will be no laws, no countries, no currency, no marriage and family, and no forms of identification such as ID cards, passports, driver's licenses, work permits, medical licenses, judge certification, professor certification, and so on, and there will be no various types of business licenses. Readers may think that this is impossible. Without laws, without countries, without any identification, the whole human society will become chaotic. For example, if there are no driver's licenses, people who don't understand traffic rules will also drive on the road and will inevitably cause traffic accidents. I want to say that we cannot imagine the form and operating mode of the highest level of human civilization society with the current consciousness and living environment of people, but we can imagine that when everyone is selfless and exudes the nature of truth, goodness, beauty, love, sincerity, and trust from within, all the disputes in the world will be melted away. The unskilled driver will not drive on the road because he loves others more than he loves himself. Perhaps some readers may think that people cannot completely achieve unselfishness and selflessness, but in fact, when the traditional production and life mode of society will be replaced by the second home mode, people will find that the more unselfish and selfless they are, the more they will enjoy the joy and beauty of life and life to the greatest extent. We have proven this through 14 years of this production and life mode in practice. Without countries, laws, and marriage and family, will everything become chaotic? No. When we emulate the thousand-year world mode, we will find that the higher the degree of freedom, the more civilized people will become. The more restrictions and constraints, the more people's selfishness, greed, and opportunism will be stimulated. Moreover, when tens of millions of second homes are born on the earth, people will choose to enter these homes to live in, and all the homes will operate according to universal values and the way of nature. All people on earth will become members of this big family of homes, and no matter what they do, whether it is power generation,